Hi everyone, I just wanted to come on here and thank every single one of you for your support, taking the time and effort out of your day to be there and cheer me on with the other girls. It means so
Alex
much.
Eala just did the impossible in Berlin. So why did it end in heartbreak? If you blinked this week, you missed one of the wildest underdog stories tennis has seen in years. A 21-year-old from the Philippines walked into a WTA 500 tournament as a wildcard, basically tennis's version of please, just let me in the building, and walked out having beaten not one, not two, but three top 10 players in a row. Sports movies get rejected from Netflix for being less believable than this. So buckle up, because we are diving deep into the rise, the chaos, the heartbreak, and the absolutely electric future of Alexandra Eala, the woman currently making the entire tennis world ask the same question: who exactly is going to stop her? Let's set the scene. Berlin. Grass courts. The kind of tournament where the only players who are supposed to make noise are the ones already wearing crowns. Alex Eala shows up as a wild card, ranked nowhere near the seeds, fresh off winning her first big title at the Birmingham Open just days earlier.
I'd also like to thank my coach right there. And my team, and of course my family who's watching from home now. I love you guys.
Most players would be exhausted. Most players would be happy to scrape together 1 or 2 wins and call it a successful week. Alex Eala is not most players. She came to Berlin like she had something to prove, and folks, she proved it with the tennis equivalent of kicking down every door in the building. It started with Donna Vekic, the reigning Queen's Club champion, a grass court specialist who knows exactly how dangerous this surface can be in the wrong hands. This was not a gentle stroll for Eala. This was a street fight. She had to save an absolutely jaw-dropping 12 out of 14 break points just to survive that match. Think about that for a second. 14 times, Vekic had her sights locked on Eala's serve, ready to pounce, ready to seize control, and 12 times, Eala slammed the door shut. That's not luck. That is ice running through your veins when everyone else's pulse is through the roof. She closed it out 7-5, 6-4, and if you'd told anyone watching that this was just the appetizer, they would have laughed you out of the stadium.
That's fabulous.
But it wasn't the appetizer. It was the warning shot. 2 days later, Eala walked onto the court against world number 2 Elena Rybakina. Let's be clear about who Rybakina is, because context matters here. We're talking about the reigning Australian Open champion. A former Wimbledon champion. A woman who serves the ball like she's trying to put a hole through the back fence. She is, by just about every measure, one of the most fearsome competitors in the entire sport, and she came out of the gate absolutely loaded for bear, firing aces like she was trying to end the match before it even started. Rybakina jumped out to a 4-1 lead in the first set, and if you were tuning in at that moment, you'd have assumed the Cinderella story was about to hit its expiration date. Glass slipper shattered. Pumpkin reverting back to a pumpkin. Show's over, folks, go home. Except nobody told Alex Eala the script was already written. She dug in. She started absorbing Rybakina's power instead of trying to match it shot for shot, redirecting that pace right back across the net with a composure that honestly looks unnatural for someone her age. She clawed back to level the set at 4-4, traded blows all the way to 5-5, and then delivered the dagger, breaking Rybakina's serve in the 11th game before getting out a tense final service game to steal the opening set, 7-5. The second set, Eala just kept the foot on the gas, building an early lead and weathering one last push from Rybakina before closing out the match 6-4. When it was over, Eala admitted she was still shaking, and that she'd called her dad the second she walked off the court, both of them just screaming into the phone like a couple of kids who'd won the lottery. Honestly? Fair reaction.
Congratulations, what an incredible performance. Before I ask you about the match, who did you call on the phone right now?
I called my dad.
What did he tell you?
Beating the world number 2 will do that to a person. This win alone marked her 5th career victory over a top 10 player, and it was payback, sweet, satisfying payback, for a loss she'd taken against Rybakina just a month earlier at the Italian Open. Revenge is a dish best served on grass, apparently. Now, most athletes, after pulling off the upset of their season, would want a minute. A breath. A small victory lap before the next gut check. Alexandra Eala took about 24 hours and then went out and did it again. Her next target, world number 8 Elena Svitolina, a player widely respected across the tour as one of the toughest, most battle-hardened competitors in women's tennis, a fighter in every sense of the word, somebody who has clawed her way through comebacks, setbacks, and everything in between throughout her career. This was actually the very first time these two had ever faced off, and Eala treated the occasion like she'd been doing this her whole life. She came out swinging, going for her shots from the very first serve and never letting her foot off the gas. She broke Svitolina's serve 5 separate times throughout the match, building a lead, watching Svitolina claw back like the fighter she is, and then answering right back every single time. At one stage, Eala had a chance to serve the match out and couldn't quite close the door on the first attempt, the kind of moment that has derailed plenty of players before her, the kind of moment where doubt creeps in and suddenly a comfortable lead turns into a nightmare collapse. Not this time. Eala steadied herself, regrouped, and finished the job 6-3, 6-4, sealing her place in the semifinals of a WTA 500 event for the very first time in her career. 3 matches. 3 top 10 or better caliber scalps. One wildcard entry making an entire 500-level tournament look like her personal highlight reel. By this point, the tennis world had officially run out of ways to describe what was happening. Pundits were scrambling. Fans were losing their minds across every time zone. The hashtags were flying. And for good reason, because beating one top 10 player is a career highlight. Beating 2 in the same week is borderline absurd. Beating 3 is the stuff documentaries get made about. So naturally, the universe decided Alexandra Eala's fairy tale needed a final boss. Enter Linda Noskova. World number 13. A name that should send a small shiver down the spine of anyone who's followed Eala's season, because these two had already met once in 2026, back on the hard courts at Indian Wells, and that meeting did not go well for the Filipina. Noskova steamrolled her in that match, 6-2, 6-0, the kind of scoreline that doesn't just hurt, it lingers. It sits in the back of your mind. And Eala, ever the realist, openly acknowledged the danger heading into the Berlin semifinal, calling Noskova a big hitter who's young, but already has a lot of experience and is very powerful. Translation: she knew exactly what was coming. The match itself was delayed by rain, which, if you've ever played or watched competitive sport, you know rain delays are basically chaos generators. They mess with rhythm. They mess with nerves. They give both players way too much time to sit with their thoughts in a locker room, overthinking every possible scenario. When the players finally took the court, Noskova came out looking like a woman with zero interest in a sentimental underdog story. She broke Eala's serve in the very first game and never let go of that grip, racing out to a commanding lead and closing out the opening set 6-2, backed by a serve that was finding its mark again and again. 8 aces by the time the dust settled. Here's the thing about Alexandra Eala, though, the thing that's made this entire Berlin run so captivating to watch: she does not go quietly. Down a set and facing a 3-1 deficit in the second, with most players already mentally packing their bags for the flight home, Eala instead ripped off 4 straight games to flip the set on its head and grab a 4-3 lead. For one electric moment, you could feel the entire stadium recalibrating, wondering if the impossible was about to happen yet again, wondering if this kid was somehow going to pull off a 4th miracle in the span of a single week. It would have been the stuff of legend. It would have been a script so unbelievable that Hollywood executives would have sent it back forth lacking realism. But Linda Noskova, to her enormous credit, did not blink. She clawed the set back to level at 4 games apiece, found another gear exactly when she needed it most, broke through in the 9th game, and closed out the match 6-4 to complete a 6-2, 6-4 victory in just 69 minutes. Just like that, the fairy tale run hit its final chapter. Eala's stunning week in Berlin, wildcard entry, 3 top 10 scalps, a city full of new fans, came to an end at the hands of the one player who'd already proven she had her number. And look, on paper, a straight-set semifinal loss might sound like a disappointing way to wrap up a story this big. But context is everything in sports, and the context here tells a completely different story. This was not collapse. This was not choking. This was simply running into a red-hot opponent who, by the way, didn't drop a single set across her entire run to the Berlin final, not against Eala, not against anybody. Noskova was playing some of the best tennis of her career at exactly the wrong time for Eala's storybook ending, and even then, the 6 games Eala managed to take off her were the most any opponent had claimed off Noskova all week. That's not a footnote. That's a statement. When the dust settled and the cameras came calling, Eala didn't sulk, didn't make excuses, didn't point to the rain delay or the brutal stretch of matches behind her. Instead, she did what she's done all season. She reframed the entire thing through the lens of growth. I think I'm getting better. I hope I'm getting better, she said, reflecting on the week. Being exposed to this kind of level more often really pushes you to your limits. That's not the quote of someone licking their wounds. That's the quote of someone who understands exactly what this week represented in the bigger picture of her career, not a ceiling, but a stepping stone. And honestly, when you zoom out and look at the full picture of Alex Eala's 2026 season, the bigger picture is stunning. This Berlin run pushed her grass court record for the year to an absurd 9 wins and just a single loss. 9-1. On a surface that takes most players years to feel comfortable on, Eala is currently playing like she was born wearing grass stains. And this wasn't even a standalone moment. It came on the heels of her capturing her first WTA 125 title at the Birmingham Open just days before Berlin even began. A 3-set battle that she closed out to claim the biggest title win of her young career to that point. So really, what we watched in Berlin wasn't an isolated hot streak. It was the continuation of one of the most electric stretches of tennis anyone on tour has put together all year, against anyone, full stop. Let's also take a moment to appreciate the sheer audacity of what a wildcard entry pulling this off actually means in the world of professional tennis. Wildcards are, generally speaking, tournament organizers extending a courtesy. We'll let you in, but don't expect much kind of invitation. They are not supposed to be the storyline. They are supposed to lose early, smile for the cameras, and exit stage left while the actual contenders battle it out for the trophy. Alex Eala took that quiet, polite little invitation and turned it into the headline of the entire tournament. She beat a Queen's Club champion. She beat a reigning Australian Open champion ranked world number 2. She beat a top 10 fighter in straight sets. And she did it all back to back to back, in the span of about a week, on a surface that, again, is notoriously unforgiving to anyone without serious experience. So what happens now? Well, here's where this story gets even juicier, because the timing of this entire Berlin run could not possibly be better. Wimbledon, the most prestigious grass court tournament on the planet, the one event every tennis player dreams about as a kid, kicks off on June 29th. And Alex Eala is rolling into the All-England club with 3 top 10 wins under her belt in the last 2 weeks alone, a freshly minted WTA 125 title, and a grass court record that reads 9 wins and 1 loss. If you're an opponent drawn against her in the early rounds at Wimbledon, you should probably already be feeling a little nervous sweat forming. Because the version of Alex Eala that just terrorized the Berlin Open is not a player peaking too early. She's a player who looks like she's just getting started. There's also something deeply compelling about what this run means beyond just the wins and losses, beyond the scorelines and the stats. Eala represents the Philippines on a stage where Filipino tennis players have historically had very little spotlight. Every time she steps onto a court against a top 10 opponent and walks away with a win, she's not just adding to her own personal highlight reel. She's rewriting what's considered possible for tennis in a country that has never quite had a true global breakout star in this sport before.
Started coming back. I mean, love 30, there's a few decisions to make. Do you play conservative, or you're more the type that goes for it?
I think it really depends on the
That's bigger than one tournament. That's the kind of moment that inspires the next generation of kids back home to pick up a racket and start dreaming a little bigger. And let's not forget the human side of all this, because it's easy to get lost in stats and scorelines and forget that these are real people experiencing real emotions in real time. The image of Eala calling her dad the second she walked off the court after beating Rybakina, both of them just screaming with joy on the phone, her admitting she was still shaking and had been shaking on match point too. That's not the polished, robotic athlete persona we sometimes get fed in sports media. That's raw, unfiltered humanity. That's a young woman who worked her entire life for moments exactly like this one, and who hasn't yet become so jaded by success that she can't fully feel the magnitude of what she's accomplishing in real time. It's honestly refreshing, and it's a huge part of why fans across the globe have been so quick to fall in love with her story this year. So where does the Alex Eala story go from here? If Berlin taught us anything, it's that betting against her right now feels like a fool's errand. She has shown, repeatedly, across multiple surfaces and against multiple ranked top 10 opponents this season alone, that she has both the firepower and the mental fortitude to hang with, and beat, the best players in the world. The only question left is whether Wimbledon becomes the next chapter in this incredible rise, or whether the grass court magic she's been riding all season finally meets its match on the biggest stage of all. Either way, one thing is absolutely certain, the entire tennis world is watching, and nobody wants to miss what happens next. This is a story that is far from over, and if Berlin was any indication, the next chapter might just be even bigger than the last. So here's what you need to do right now. Smash that like button if you're as obsessed with Alex Eala's rise as we are. Drop a comment telling us whether you think she goes deep at Wimbledon, and if you haven't already, hit subscribe so you never miss a single moment of this incredible run. Because trust us, with the way this season has gone so far, you do not want to be the last one to find out what Alex Eala does next.
Alex, ang saya-saya lang lahat ng mga Pilipino sa pagkapanalo mo. How good was it to win that, first of all? How good did it feel?
No, it